vitiated.
Without objection.
Madam President, with only days left in the 118th Congress, I come to the floor to fight on behalf of my rural Montana communities. Senate Bill 4444, the Crow Revenue Act, is a win for Montana, and it's one that cannot wait any longer. The bill's pretty simple. It swaps minerals between the Crow tribe, the federal government, and the Hope family, and ensures that both the Crow tribe and Musselshell County will continue to receive much-needed revenue from mineral development. And let me be clear, if this bill does not pass and is not signed into law this year, there will be dramatic consequences for Montana communities. If we don't act before the end of the year, there'll be 100 high-paying mining jobs lost in Roundup, Montana. And unlike the show Yellowstone, where it looks like everybody's got helicopters and fancy barns and fancy houses, this part of our state and most of Montana fights every day to make ends meet. And by the way, these 100 jobs that will be lost is after 700 jobs were lost at the Stillwater mine in Columbus, Montana, a few months ago. We can't afford another layoff of hardworking miners. Furthermore, both Musselshell County and the Crow tribe will see cuts in their revenues, leading to less services for the communities. The Crow Revenue Act is a long-term fix to a real problem that's happening in my state. It has the strong support of community leaders, county commissioners, the governor, other locally elected officials, and very importantly, the Crow tribe. I ask my colleagues to stand with me and support our rural and our tribal communities. Notwithstanding Rule 22, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Indian Affairs be discharged from further consideration of Senate Bill 4444 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration. Further, that the Daines substitute amendment at the desk be considered and agreed to, the bill as amended be considered, read a third time and passed, and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there an objection?
Madam President, reserving the right to object.
Senator from Hawaii.
Look, I'm all for considering bills that have gone through the regular process for consideration. In the past month alone, I've been on the floor several times to pass 12 bipartisan bills which advanced out of the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs with unanimous bipartisan support. The difference with this bill is it's not ready. It's just not ready for that consideration, and Senator Daines knows that. The bill has not cleared the committee, and it's not for our lack of trying. It was only introduced a few months ago, and when it was fast-tracked to a hearing at the senator's request, it was clear that there remained several open questions, and as of today, many of those questions have still not been answered. And yet, we're trying to pass this bill unanimously. This is what's happening, is that this would be recorded on the Senate floor as a 100-0 vote. This bill is not ready for that. The only circumstances under which, especially in Indian Affairs, but mostly in any other jurisdiction, the only way we pass something by unanimous consent is if it has been fully vetted and it is either so meaningless, right, a congratulatory resolution or something, and people just let them go, or it's been so thoroughly vetted that it's really ready and there are no objectors. That is not the case for this bill. The Indian Affairs Committee has had its most productive years in history, these past two Congresses, And we've done it through good faith bipartisan work and respecting not just generally speaking the process, but the bipartisan tradition of the committee itself. We don't have one rule for some bills and another for others. Every bill that has made it through this process is scrutinized by the committee with feedback from tribes and others. And if it can be considered, it generally passes out on a bipartisan basis. And actually, our standard is to try to pass these things unanimously, not just one member of one party and all the members of the other party. We try to get 0 no votes. And if there are any no votes, it won't pass on by consent on the floor. We've done everything that we can to oblige Senator Daines and accelerate the consideration of this bill, but we cannot pass a bill that is still going through the process. The bill has no score. The bill has no score, something that has been required, sometimes to my chagrin, of every single bill that comes out of the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs. I don't love that standard, because sometimes I just want to pass a bill, and sometimes the score is so de minimis that I think it's a little bit of a waste of time. That's not the case for this bill. It's going to score. And we don't have that score yet, and I'm not going to make an exception for one bill. It hasn't had a committee markup, and there is no path in the House. The Senate hotline ran barely a day ago, and offices are still reviewing it, and I want people to understand what that means. That means that offices that are not on the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs are just getting emailed about this bill, and for them it's an issue of first impression, and they are being asked to ask their boss, do you vote yes on this bill that you haven't even analyzed? Do you vote yes on this bill? And there's maybe 2 days, maybe more, but let's assume 2 days left in the actual Congress. This is an attempt to circumvent our normal procedures. That is not how we do things here, and for that reason I object.
Objection is heard.